Women Innovators. Interviews with women with big messages and big missions, sharing their stories to inspire you to live your passion and step up to make the world a better place. Here's your host, Tammy Patzer.
Hi, this is Tammy Patzer, and I'm really excited to introduce today's guest, Debra Crosby. Debra turns entrepreneurs into sought-after speakers, thought leaders, and luminaries who command the stage by teaching them how to communicate in a clear, concise, confident, and compelling manner. She's passionate about working with speakers who want to deliver messages, solutions, and ideas that have the potential to unite us as one global tribe. The founder of the Present to Prosper studio and creator of the TED Talk Blueprint for Successful Speeches program, she brings to her practice of more than 30 years of experience as a professional presenter, trainer, and producer. She trains her clients to infuse multimedia and multisensory experiences into their presentations so they can deepen the learning process for their audience. She also helps clients weave spellbinding stories and authentic vulnerability into their talks so they can connect with and match the energy of their audience with warmth in a meaningful way. Bottom line, this blue-haired goddess of unconditional friendliness shows you how to own the stage and be playful with your audience at the same time. Debra has taught thousands of people how to successfully present themselves via TV, public speaking engagements, and in Hollywood films. Her clients have presented at national conferences, booked paid speaking gigs across the U.S., and landed high-profile media appearances. Welcome, Debra.
Hey, Tammy, it's such an honor to be here. You are a rock star.
Thank you so much. I'm really thrilled to have you because, my goodness, everybody's like, who is that lady with the blue hair? She's rocking it. And I just love that. The goddess of unconditional friendliness. That is such a beautiful, beautiful line. And to look at you and to meet you, you really are that person. You exude it. And I love that. I want to get right into our interview. So, of course, my big question is, who do you help?
My special niche is working with authors who may also be coaches, but specifically folks who have a spiritual platform. These are folks who have a desire to be luminaries. So they're usually published authors, but they speak to spiritual principles. So they're not interested in professing a certain religion, but they want to speak to spiritual principles so people can live at a higher vibration, a higher quality of life, have healthier relationships, and create prosperity. So those are my ideal clients are shakers and movers, people who have a deep desire to have a positive impact in the world, but speak from spiritual principles.
Wow, I think I'm one of your ideal clients because I listen to you and I'm like, wow, that's exactly what I'm hoping to do to change the world. So I think that people who operate at this higher level, and I'll include myself because I really see myself as a messenger's messenger, we seem to have some special needs, and maybe we see ourselves as having problems other people don't have. What would you say are some of the big problems that people who want to get out there and speak to people in an authentic way and this is so cliche, but people are always talking about, well, how do I present on the stage without being salesy, even though I want them to participate in buying my products?
Well, first of all, to speak to the first part of your question, because it was kind of a multi-level
Of course,
question,
that's me.
is someone has a big dream. I have a big dream to have a positive impact on the world. You feel inspired, you feel enthusiastic, you feel really passionate about that big dream and that big goal. That's the beginning of the hero's journey, right? And this is common language that's being used out there, sort of the buzzword, but I got interested in Joseph Campbell way back in the day. And so when the hero or the heroine begins on their journey, there is inevitably going to be challenges. Now, in mythological language, those challenges would have been dragons, right? Or a big tiger. But honestly, internally, those dragons are metaphors for our own internal resistance. So the problem I find is that folks have this big dream, but they experience or create internal resistance that shows up in like, I can't do this. This is too big. I'm not good enough. I have to do some more preparation. This is how dare I? All this stuff comes up, right? So I have tools in my tool bag as a coach, a certified love coach, to circumvent the internal resistance so that they're liberated, their energy is liberated. So I'll say it this way. Einstein said, match the frequency of that which you want to manifest, and it will be so. This is science. This is not philosophy. So one of the ways I work with clients is to release and liberate their energy. So their energy is matching the dream and the idea they want to manifest. That is the way I help people. So is that cool or what?
That is really cool because I'm listening, and that is often something that people will say, well, who am I to do this? And even Napoleon Hill asked himself that question. Who am I to tell people what it takes to get rich? You know, when he was told, well, you should spend 20 years working on this project. And that was a question he asked, but that's really interesting. So you help people to get out of their own way.
Yeah. So fundamentally, when someone signs up for my TED Talk Blueprint for Successful Speeches program, the first 3 sessions is what I refer to as radical freedom, where we're working on their energy and working on clearing any resistance, internal resistance, so that they can manifest what they want. So I start energetically first, and then we work on the actual practical step-by-step approach to writing the content, and then how do you turn what you want to say, figure out what you want to say, why you want to say it, who you want to say it to, what's your motivation, what's your core passion, and then how to turn that into a performance. Shakespeare said, all the world's a stage. Well, it really is. So it's not just about writing what you need to say, but it's how to deliver what you need to say. And that's what I have in the TED Talk Blueprint for Successful Speeches. But fundamentally, at a core, it starts with energy and having your energy in alignment in a really clear place.
How long does the TED Talk Blueprint take to accomplish?
3 months.
So 90 days of a process, and he starts out with, you said, the first 3 sessions. So are these sessions once a week?
Once a week?
How does it all work?
Most of the majority of my clients I see via Zoom. And then what's wonderful is it gets recorded, so they get a copy of their training, and they can review that at any point in terms of what we did in that session. So a TED Talk is what, 15 minutes typically of a really impactful presentation. So when they're done with that, they're ready to be at a TED Talk. Yes.
Do you have any success stories of people who have done that?
I just finished. So, I've transitioned from being an artist educator for the Wang Center for the Performing Arts, from being a television host on broadcast television to a home audience of 2.5 million. And my career is evolving. And so it's a relatively new concept of working with folks who want to be on the TED stage. So I'm just finishing this year of 2016 working with folks who want to go on the TED stage. So I'm really excited that I will have folks on the TED stage, but I already have used that blueprint, TED Talk Blueprint for Successful Speeches program, to get people on other national stages, including SXXW. So it's the formula works, the curriculum works, and it's just a matter of time of seeing myself and other folks on that TED stage.
I think that's really interesting because people they see the TED Talks, and I actually saw it was Jane Fonda.
Yep.
She was talking about the third act, and it really triggered something in me when I saw Jane Fonda talking at a TED Talk because, Jane, I used to do the Jane Fonda exercise. That really dates me, but yeah. I'll tell you, it worked. So that was really interesting. So tell me more about some of the things you talked a little bit about, the limiting beliefs that people have. Tell me about, what do you think some of the big misconceptions or issues are with people when they see you and they're saying, okay, she can help me get on the stage, but yet maybe they think they're not ready. Do you have like a test or something that you can help people?
Yeah, I usually do a screening process. And one is, I want to make sure that person has their ducks lined up in a row. So I speak in public a lot. I love that. And frequently that's how I attract clients. And I had a situation where someone wanted to meet with me, and I realized at the end of that conversation, they didn't even have a website. They didn't even know how to use social media. There were a lot of things that they didn't have in place and a structure to be able to move forward. So as a matter of integrity, I said, I'm going to recommend that you actually work with this entrepreneurial coach and get all your ducks lined up. And let's talk in about a year when you're ready to get out there. And so I want to make sure there's a match. So one of the things that is ideal for me, that someone is either writing a book or has written a book. That's usually like the first thing. And then I also want to know, do they actually have a goal where they have a specific target date where they want to be on stage? Now, it doesn't have to be the TED stage. I just use that formula because I think it's brilliant.
Yes.
And so it doesn't matter if you want to be a keynote speaker, or if you want to talk on Google Talks, or if you want to talk on Upbound or SXXW, or you've been asked to speak in Las Vegas. It does not matter. The TED Talk Blueprint is a brilliant blueprint. And so one of the things is, do they have a motivation and drive? Do they have a target date? Do they have something that they need to be speaking at? That's usually then they're pretty motivated in that case.
Well, I think that sometimes people do, they see the vision that's way out there in front of them, but they haven't done all the little baby prep things that they need to do. I actually started speaking as a college instructor, and then talked a lot at Chamber of Commerce's and SCORE and SBA. So most of the speaking that I've done has been as the teacher. And that means that you basically dump all this information out, because they're normally there for, in a college classroom, they're there to learn about some topic. How would you say that speaking on the stage is different from teaching in front of a classroom?
Well, that's an excellent question. And you and I have a very similar background, or a similar life calling, in that I've been a teacher as well. So the difference, let's say in terms of speaking on TED, right, is that you have a core story. And in that core story you're presenting is authentic vulnerability. You're exposing some aspect of yourself in terms of a challenge or a problem or difficulty or something that you're trying to improve or overcome. And you have this one idea that has occurred to you as a result of your own story. And then you've done some research. So your story isn't just subjective. You have substantiated the subjective with objective research, statistics, and what quantifiable antidotes. And that's the difference between just teaching and being on the TED stage. So I honestly, Tamara, I feel that when you're on the TED stage, you are actually a teacher. But it's a little bit of a different formula because you're not there to lecture at people. That's a real no-no on TED. On the TED stage, it should feel like a conversation. It should feel like a love affair. There should feel like a real connection between yourself and a sharing of ideas that is occurring. So it is a different paradigm than traditional teaching and lecturing.
So I really like the way that you described that because just like our interviews, it's a conversation, and I'm hoping that the people are like leaning in to listen. You know, if you've ever been in a restaurant and all of a sudden you realize that everybody's listening to your conversation because it's so interesting and it's things they've never heard about before.
Well, there's a whole bunch of people leaning in right now. And
yeah, I mean, I'm like leaning in because I'm like really listening. So and again, and I want to make it clear, the TED Talk formula, it doesn't mean that you're only going to speak at a TED Talk.
No.
It's a really brilliant formula for speaking in general.
Yes.
on any stage.
Do you want to know why?
Why? Yes.
Because you have 15 to 18 minutes to get your message across. You do not have the luxury of a half hour, 45 minutes, or an hour. You have to be clear, you have to be concise, and you have to be compelling. And so you cannot afford extraneous information. And so it's the squeeze box where you have got to really focus on what's essential. I love that.
It makes me want, here's a question, and I want to know, so I'm sure other people do. How do you choose the stories you tell? Like if I'm trying to talk about why you should write a book, for example, to become the authority, how do I choose the stories that make me human, but at the same time move the story forward? Because I have some things that are extremely personal. Should I choose business related stories or, the fact that I wrote the Girl Scout Muse when I was in the 3rd grade. And so it was like I had a calling that happened way back then. How do I choose my stories for my 15 minutes?
Yeah, that is such an excellent question. And I'm going to preface that with, I look forward to seeing you on the TED stage. So
I'm excited. I'm ready.
Yeah. So you are ready. So you have so much to say, and that TED stage opens you up to the globe, everybody on the planet, and it gives you opportunity to connect with people in a really powerful way. So if you have a book and that book has a message, then we focus on the message of that book. So the first question I have is, first answer, what are you most passionate about in the world? Can you articulate that, Tammy? What are you most passionate about?
What I'm most passionate about right now is I'm really excited about what I call being the messenger's messenger and helping heart-centered people, conscious people, or spiritual people like you, what your description was perfect, get their messages out, because I have all of this background in media and platforms that I can help them create. So that's what I'm really passionate about, is helping others get their message out to the masses.
So why, at a core level, in terms of your core, like at the heart of who you are, why is that important? And if I just take a second before you just give me the answer, like at the heart of who you are, why is that important?
I think because when I was little, I always was told, little girls are seen and not heard. And then I've always been held down. I hit that glass ceiling. And so I think having a voice and being able to say who you are and what is important to you is really important. So it's, I guess, the voice of, breaking that glass ceiling is something important to me, because I always had to be 50 billion times better than everyone else just to get my little 50-cent raise.
Wow. See, now isn't that, I love that. And that would be a title of a TED Talk. How was it having to be 50 billion times better gave you a 50-cent raise? Isn't that a cool title?
Yeah,
right?
but that's the truth. I mean, and I think a lot of people, especially women, or maybe people, a non-white man, they've experienced that same thing, or the fact that I drove up and down the highway 67,000 miles in 1 year so I could get my bachelor's degree.
So how did you break that glass ceiling from being that little girl? How did you break that glass ceiling?
I just kept showing up and moving forward. And every time I got the opportunity to be on someone else's stage, or to be the success story, that was the goal. I want to be their success story. So I would do whatever it took. And then I'd say, hey, I did this. You told me to do this. I'm now a success. And then I'd get on their stage. And then somebody, as I grew, each mentor, oh, you helped me become a success. And so they would promote, so I wanted to be the success story. And I actually have a photograph of me on my very first stage at Main Street Marketing Machines on Mike Koenig's stage in San Diego. There were about 700 or so people there. And he gave me 15 minutes. And I titled it, I Am a Success Story. And I'm standing there in front of the screen. And I have that beautiful photo. And I just realized just the other day that I am a success story must be my theme, because that motivates me.
Yeah.
Because it was get on the stage to show that what this person is telling you to do works. And so I did. And you have to provide all this evidence. And so that was my motivation. And it took me, I think, maybe not even 12 months the first time I did it. So thank you.
Yeah, cool. Now, my next question is, so what have you learned from having to be a billion times better so that can you teach others so they don't have to work so hard at being a billion times better to get the raise? What have you learned to make it easier to shed the light on the path for others so they don't have to work a billion times harder?
Well, number one, don't go after a job, a job. Number two is start working on your media exposure. Start getting that online presence, just like your example about the author or the people writing a book where you sent them back and said, see me in a year. So I say, okay, let's start building that online presence. Let's start getting content. Let's get the media exposure. Let's, every little thing you do, let's promote it so that people know you're the big deal, so that you rise up above the other people and become that top 1%. Because most people, for example, they might do a show like this and hey, it was on, whoopee, and they're all happy, and then that's it. They don't do anything else with it. Well, I will take this show, I'll write a press release about it, I'll turn it into a book, I'll show it on YouTube, I'll use it over and over and over again, and a month from now, I'll do it all over again to keep it fresh, because I know that only a very small percentage of people will see this at any one point in time. And so it'll always be new to someone and keep working for us 24/7, 365. That's how my big vision, that's what I can do for people, so that instead of a year, like we could do that in 30 to 90 days, and that person could come back to you and say, okay, I've got my infrastructure. Look at, I'm somebody who now is available to do your TED Talk program. You know?
So what I hear you saying is that you provide the structure and the support so people can work smarter, not harder.
Right.
Right? That's what you have worked a bazillion times harder, so that the folks you work with can work smarter, not harder.
Right. I can cut years off the learning curve.
Yeah.
Years.
Right? So don't you think that's important to get that message out there? Isn't there a sense of urgency to be providing solutions to this world right now? And don't we need to start finding these solutions faster and faster?
Yes.
Yeah. So you're a shaker, a maker, and a thought leader.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, what I really like is, obviously, for everyone listening, this is a really good example of how Debra can help you. And she just took me, and just to let everyone know, this was not any rehearsed thing. This is a real fly on the wall conversation. But do you see how Debra took me, used me as an example, and pulled out that based on my question, well, what could I use as an example? And of course, I, gave her a couple things that came to mind in this moment. And then she said, okay, well, think about that. So how cool is that?
Yeah.
Everyone has just witnessed a really good example of how Debra works and how the energy. And just to let you know, as I was describing all this, I called them those angel goosebumps.
Yeah.
Where you know that the truth is rising. And I had that significant energy shift.
Yeah.
And so again, I'm experiencing with Debra exactly how she works with people. How cool is that?
Yeah. So exactly. So at the foundation of how I operate is unconditional friendliness. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm listening to you, and I'm your guest, but the way I roll in the world is I'm acting as if we are already friends. And as your friend, you asked me a question, but I knew that the question really had a deeper meaning in terms of you, who you are, and what you're about. So I just follow my own genuine curiosity and wonder. Now, yes, I have significant training. I have training up the wazoo on how to do that effectively and efficiently. And so also energetically, thoughts have a frequency. So if I'm asking questions based on genuine curiosity and wonder about who you are and what you're about and what your life purpose is, your thoughts are going to come from a higher place, and that's going to raise your vibration. So you get what you call angel boost. Well, through the process of inquiry, where I am genuinely interested in who you are and what you're about, your frequency is naturally going to rise.
That's really phenomenal.
Yeah, just in that process. Like, I'm really excited for you after this conversation, what's going to happen next in your life. Seriously, I'm not kidding. Like, I have these kinds of conversations with people, and all of a sudden they've been asked to speak at a major conference because their frequency rate was brought up to a higher level. So they started thinking on a higher level of consciousness.
Well, that is interesting because when you decided to be part of the Women Innovators project, I was like, wow. how cool is that? And then of course, here we are today. So I was really excited because you have such a phenomenal background that, it's like, whoa, and present to prosper. How beautiful is that? Because so many people today, they want to learn about how to present to prosper. And you have just, again, we've demonstrated how you're able to work with someone who has that deep desire to be what I call a messenger. And you helped me to crystallize more of my purpose in just this short conversation. You also did something that I think everyone loves, and you confirmed to me that I'm on the right path. And so what a gift that you're giving to me and everyone listening, because so many people today, they're ready to present, and they're ready to prosper. So I just think that the name of what you do is so beautiful. And then of course, the Successful Speeches program is something that is really phenomenal. So is there anything else that you'd like to address before I ask you where we can find out more information about you and your services?
Yeah, I want to cycle back in that you asked me originally, what story to tell. Well,
Yes.
Now that we know that your skill and your assets and your support and your calling and purpose in life is to make it possible for the folks you work with to work smarter, not harder, because you've already worked a bazillion times harder for them, then we can cycle back and figure out what story best illustrates that point. So what learning did you experience where you went, I don't have to work so hard anymore? And then so that's how you cycle back. So through this process, we start asking questions, and then we figure out what story best showcases that message and that idea. So I just wanted to go back. So speaking to present to prosper, it's a play on words. So when you are fully present in the moment, as Eckhart Tolle speaks to, you're giving the best of yourself to your audience, and that's a gift, right? When you're present, you are giving a present to your audience. I chose the word prosper over the word profit because for me, I speak to audiences that are interested in spiritual principles, are more enlightened, conscious, awake, and heart-centered individuals. And so the word prosper for me felt more holistic and win-win. So it's not just I profit, but we all benefit. So the word prosper comes from abundance and wealth, right? Opposed to I win and you lose, which is an old paradigm. It's the old boys network, which talks about I profit, right? It's we win and we all prosper. When we share ideas, and that's what I love about TED Talks, and I'm going to segue into TED Talks, is TED Talks is a global platform where we share ideas that make the audience think about themselves, their lives, their relationships in the world in a new and fresh way. And at the end of the TED Talk, people are invited to a call to action to do something about what they learned, right? And you have only 18 minutes to get that across. And that's what I love about TED Talks. And so present to prosper is how does one present your ideas, your message, and your story to ignite and galvanize action in your audience so they can think differently about themselves, their life, the world in a new and fresh way. And the other thing I love about TED Talks is that it's this platform where all ideas are valued, appreciated, and respected. And in that environment, we have the potential to become and see ourselves as one global tribe. The clock is ticking, and we are in a tipping point in terms of where we are at the planet. If you listen to Jane Goodall's talk on YouTube about, where we're at right now, she speaks to a core truth. We are at a tipping point, and we need to find some solutions, and we need to be thinking together creatively and collaboratively. And that's what I love about TED Talks, and that's why I have created a curriculum around TED Talks, because we have got to get our ideas out. And it doesn't have to be the TED stage. It could be in your local chamber of commerce. It can be as a keynote speaker. It can be at any other platform out there on the world right now where you are getting your ideas across, so we can think about solutions that we are facing in this planet right now in this very moment. That's why I do what I do, is I want to assist people to speak their truth, to tell their story, to get their message out, so they can be change agents and thought leaders and making the world a better place. We have a lot of problems, and we need to solve these problems, and we need to get our butts in gear.
Well, that's the absolute truth. And wow, I'm really pleased that you decided to be part of the Women Innovators program too. And where can we find out more about you and your services?
I have one more question. When do you see yourself on the TED stage, Tammy?
How long does it take?
30 days. So do we see you on the TED stage on 2/17?
2/17, definitely.
Let's say, let's make a date.
Let's make a date. What do you think? February? Could I do it in February?
Let's see you on the TED stage, February 2/17.
Okay.
What state?
Well, I live in Florida, so that would be the easiest, but I can go anywhere.
Yep. So there's TEDx. That's the easiest way. So I'm challenging you to submit to finding in Florida where TEDx is. Okay. Close to you. Submit a proposal. Okay. And I look forward to seeing you on the TED stage.
Okay. Debra Crosby, I accept that challenge. February 2017, TEDx in Florida.
Woo-hoo! All right, so how do people find me? Yeah. I'm pretty active on Facebook. So on Facebook, it's Debra Lee Crosby. And it's not difficult to find me because I have blue hair and I'm from Salem, Massachusetts. Okay, so Debra Lee Crosby, Salem, Massachusetts, find you there. And definitely on my website, which is present-to-prosper.com or debraleecrosby.com. Both of those web pages are directed to the same website, debraleecrosby.com or present-to-prosper.com.
Definitely, everyone, if you didn't pay close attention or take notes, you're going to want to, take notes from this and listen to the questions that Debra asked. Better yet, just go to talk to Debra, debraleecrosby.com or present-to-profit.com. And the show notes will have all the active live links and everything. So that'll make it really easy. Debra, thank you so much. You gave more than I could ever thank you for today. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. It was my pleasure. We'll have to talk online because I do want to support you and be your what I call flying buttress. In the medieval period, there was a structure in architecture that allowed for our churches and our cathedrals to go to higher states. Was a flying buttress. It was a support system so that structure could withstand the forces of nature. And so I want to support you in actually really making that happen. And I'd love to see you absolutely submit to the TEDx stage in Florida.
Well, like I said, I'm taking your challenge, and everyone, This is Tammy Patzer. Go make it a beautiful day.
You've been listening to Women Innovators with Tammy Patzer. To learn more, please go to womeninnovatorsradio.com. And please do subscribe and share to spread the big messages and big missions to change the world.